My name is James Harrison, and I'm 47 years old. I've been working as a senior financial advisor in Phoenix, Arizona for the past 22 years. It's a career that's taught me to read between the lines, spot patterns, and most importantly, always plan 3 steps ahead. These skills served me well in my professional life, but I never imagined I'd need them to survive my own marriage. My wife Lisa and I had been married for 18 years when everything fell apart on my 46th birthday. But the story really begins 6 months earlier, when I first started noticing the signs that something was terribly wrong. Lisa had always been what you'd call a high-maintenance woman. When we met in 2005, she was working as a marketing coordinator for a luxury hotel chain, but she quit her job 3 years into our marriage to focus on personal projects that never seemed to materialize. Over the years, she developed expensive tastes: designer clothes, weekly spa treatments, exclusive gym memberships, and a social circle of equally affluent women who seemed to compete over who could spend the most money. I didn't mind supporting her lifestyle initially. My career was going well. We lived in a beautiful 4-bedroom house in Scottsdale, and I thought her happiness was worth the expense. But by 2023, I was starting to feel like an ATM rather than a husband. The first red flag came in March 2023, when I noticed unusual activity on our joint credit card. Lisa had always been a spender, but the amounts were getting larger and more frequent. When I asked her about a $3,000 charge at Nordstrom, she got defensive and accused me of being controlling. "I work hard managing our household," she said, which was laughable, considering we had a housekeeper who came twice a week and a gardener who maintained our yard. The second red flag was her sudden interest in our finances. Lisa had never cared about money management. That was always my domain. But suddenly she was asking detailed questions about my retirement accounts, our investment portfolio, and the value of our house. She even suggested we refinance to take advantage of lower interest rates, which made no sense given that rates were actually rising. The third and biggest red flag came in May 2023, when I discovered Lisa had been meeting regularly with a divorce attorney. I found out purely by accident when I was reviewing our credit card statements and saw charges for legal services, family law, that Lisa had tried to hide by categorizing them as personal care. That's when I realized what was happening. Lisa wasn't just planning to leave me, she was planning to take me for everything I was worth. Instead of confronting her immediately, I decided to do what I do best: gather information and plan my strategy. I hired my own attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Kellerman, who specialized in high-asset divorce cases. Patricia helped me understand exactly what I was up against. "Your wife has been consulting with one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in Phoenix," Patricia told me during our first meeting. "They specialize in maximizing spousal support and asset division for dependent spouses." Dependent spouse? Lisa hasn't worked in 15 years, but that was her choice, not mine. That's exactly what makes her case strong in Arizona. The court sees her as economically disadvantaged due to the length of time she's been out of the workforce. Patricia explained that in Arizona, a marriage of 18 years would likely result in permanent spousal maintenance, especially given the disparity in our incomes. Lisa could potentially receive 30 to 40% of my income for the rest of her life, plus half of all marital assets. "The good news," Patricia said, "is that you're finding out about this early. That gives us time to protect your assets legally." Over the next several months, I quietly began implementing a financial protection strategy. I couldn't hide assets. That would be illegal and could backfire spectacularly. But I could position them in ways that would be more favorable during divorce proceedings. First, I increased my 401k contributions to the maximum allowed by law. Money going into retirement accounts during the separation would be more likely to remain mine. Second, I paid down our mortgage significantly using funds from our joint savings account. Home equity would be split 50-50, but reducing our debt would minimize the cash Lisa could claim during asset division. Third, I documented everything. Every expenditure Lisa made, every luxury purchase, every spa day, every expensive dinner with her friends. I wanted to establish a clear pattern of her lifestyle choices and spending habits. Most importantly, I installed security cameras around our house. I told Lisa they were for home security, which wasn't entirely untrue. But I really wanted to document who was coming and going from our house when I wasn't there. The cameras proved to be invaluable. By August 2023, I had clear evidence that Lisa was having an affair with her personal trainer, Marcus. The footage showed him arriving at our house multiple times when I was at work, staying for hours, and leaving in a way that suggested he was familiar with our routine. I also discovered that Lisa had been systematically removing valuable items from our house, jewelry, artwork, electronics, and storing them at her sister's place. She was essentially stealing marital assets and hiding them before filing for divorce. By October 2023, I had assembled a comprehensive dossier of Lisa's activities. I had financial records showing her excessive spending, evidence of her adultery, documentation of her asset concealment, and records of her meetings with divorce attorneys dating back 6 months. Patricia was impressed with my thoroughness. "This is exactly the kind of evidence that can shift the balance in a divorce case," she said. "Adultery doesn't prevent her from getting spousal support in Arizona, but it can influence the amount. And the asset concealment is serious. That's considered marital waste." Then came December 15th, 2023, my 46th birthday. I woke up that morning knowing it would be a significant day, but not for the reasons Lisa was planning. Lisa had been acting strange for weeks, more distant than usual, spending even more time out of the house. She'd been making mysterious phone calls and had started talking about needing space to find herself. I knew the divorce papers were coming soon. I decided to spend my birthday at work, partly because I had client meetings scheduled, but mostly because I wanted to be in a professional environment when the inevitable happened. Lisa didn't even acknowledge it was my birthday when I left for the office that morning. Around 2:30 p.m., while I was in a meeting with clients about their retirement planning, my phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and saw it was from Lisa. The message was short and brutal. "I want a divorce. I've already filed the papers. You'll be served tomorrow. I'm sorry it has to be this way, but I need to think about my future." I excused myself from the meeting and went to my office to process what had just happened. My wife of 18 years had just asked for a divorce via text message on my birthday. The coldness of it was breathtaking, but instead of feeling devastated, I felt relieved. The waiting was over. Now I could put my plan into action. I immediately called Patricia. "It's happening," I told her. "Lisa just texted me asking for a divorce." "On your birthday? That's particularly cold, even for someone planning a strategic divorce. Are you ready?" "I've been ready for months." Patricia had already prepared our counter-filing, which we submitted to the court within hours of Lisa's filing. While she was asking for permanent spousal maintenance, half of all assets, and exclusive use of the marital home, I was requesting an equitable distribution based on her adultery and marital waste. The next morning, a process server showed up at my office with Lisa's divorce papers, just as she had promised. But what Lisa didn't know was that a different process server was simultaneously delivering my papers to her at our house. My filing included subpoenas for all of Lisa's financial records, her sister's financial records, Marcus's financial records, and records from the storage unit I'd discovered she was renting. I was demanding a full accounting of all marital assets, including those she had hidden. Lisa called me that afternoon, furious. "What the hell is this, James? Why are you making this so complicated? You filed for divorce on my birthday via text message after 18 years of marriage. You've been planning this for months while lying to my face every single day. And you think I'm the one making it complicated? I just want a fair settlement. I sacrificed my career for our marriage." "Lisa, you quit your job 15 years ago to pursue personal projects that never materialized. You've spent the last decade living like a millionaire while contributing nothing to our household except expenses. And now I have evidence that you've been stealing from me and cheating on me." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "What evidence?" "We'll discuss it in court." The divorce proceedings were brutal but swift. Patricia had advised me that the key to winning a high-asset divorce was overwhelming the other side with evidence while moving quickly to prevent further asset dissipation. Lisa's attorney was caught completely off guard by the depth of evidence I had assembled. They had clearly expected a straightforward case where Lisa would be seen as the wronged dependent spouse, deserving of significant support. Instead, they found themselves defending against charges of adultery, asset concealment, and marital waste. The security camera footage of Marcus's visits was particularly damaging, especially when combined with cell phone records showing thousands of texts and calls between them during work hours. The evidence of asset concealment was even more devastating. I had photographs of Lisa removing items from our house, credit card records showing purchases that weren't in our home, and storage unit records showing she had been paying for additional storage for 6 months. "Your Honor," Patricia said during one of our hearings, "Mrs. Harrison has systematically removed approximately $40,000 worth of marital assets from the family home and concealed them in various locations. This appears to be part of a coordinated effort to hide assets before filing for divorce." Lisa's attorney tried to argue that she was simply storing items for safekeeping, but the pattern was too obvious. Why would someone store brand new jewelry and electronics at their sister's house unless they were trying to hide them? The adultery evidence was equally compelling. While Arizona is a no-fault divorce state, adultery can still influence spousal maintenance decisions, especially when the cheating spouse has been living off the other's income. Mrs. Harrison claims she needs permanent spousal support because she sacrificed her career for the marriage, Patricia argued. But the evidence shows she used that time to pursue an extramarital relationship while her husband worked to support her lifestyle. But the most damaging evidence was the timeline of Lisa's divorce planning. I had credit card records showing she had been consulting with divorce attorneys for 8 months before filing, all while pretending to be a loving wife and asking me about our finances to better position herself for the divorce. "This wasn't a marriage that fell apart," Patricia told the judge. "This was a calculated extraction plan. Mrs. Harrison treated her marriage like a business venture and Mr. Harrison like an investment to be liquidated." The judge was clearly not impressed with Lisa's behavior. During the final hearing, he addressed her directly. "Mrs. Harrison, this court finds your conduct during the dissolution of this marriage to be concerning. The evidence suggests a pattern of deception and asset concealment that is contrary to the good faith requirements of divorce proceedings." The final settlement was far more favorable to me than Lisa had ever imagined possible. Instead of permanent spousal maintenance, she received limited support for 3 years, enough time to get back into the workforce. Instead of half of all assets, she received 30% after accounting for the marital waste and concealed assets. Most importantly, I kept the house and the majority of my retirement accounts. Lisa got her car, her personal belongings, and a lump sum payment of $200,000, significantly less than the $1 million+ she had been expecting. But the real victory wasn't financial. It was the look on Lisa's face when she realized that her months of careful planning had backfired completely. She had assumed I was naive and trusting, that I would be devastated by her betrayal and would agree to whatever settlement she demanded. Instead, she discovered that the skills that made me successful in my career, attention to detail, strategic thinking, and always planning ahead, applied just as well to protecting myself from her schemes. The divorce was finalized in June 2024, exactly 6 months after Lisa's birthday text message. As I signed the final papers, I felt a mixture of sadness for the end of what I had once thought was a good marriage, and relief that I was finally free from someone who had seen me as nothing more than a source of income. Lisa moved out of Arizona entirely, relocating to California, where she moved in with Marcus, who had also gotten divorced during our proceedings. I heard through mutual friends that she was struggling financially and had to get a job for the first time in 15 years. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding my life in the house I had worked so hard to keep. I renovated the space to remove all traces of Lisa's influence, turning her former project room into a home office where I could work more efficiently. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was reviewing my financial situation and realized I was actually in better shape than I had been during the last years of my marriage. Without Lisa's excessive spending, I was able to increase my savings rate dramatically and get back on track for my retirement goals. I also started dating again, but this time with much clearer boundaries and expectations. I had learned the hard way that love without financial compatibility and shared values is unsustainable in the long term. My new girlfriend, Sarah, is a fellow financial advisor who has her own successful practice and her own assets. When we talk about our futures together, it's as equals discussing how to combine our strengths, not as a provider and dependent discussing how to manage expenses. "I can't believe Lisa thought she could outsmart you," Sarah said when I told her the story. "You literally make a living helping people plan for their financial future." The irony wasn't lost on me. She spent months planning what she thought was the perfect divorce strategy, never realizing that I had been trained to spot exactly those kinds of patterns. Looking back, I realized that Lisa's biggest mistake wasn't the adultery or the asset concealment. It was underestimating me. She'd gotten so used to me being the accommodating husband who funded her lifestyle without question that she forgot I was also a sharp financial professional who had built his career on protecting people's assets. The birthday text message that was supposed to devastate me actually became the starting gun for my own carefully planned response. While she thought she was catching me off guard, I had already been preparing for months. Today, 2 years after that fateful birthday, I can honestly say that Lisa did me a favor. Her betrayal forced me to take a hard look at what I really wanted from a relationship and to establish boundaries I should have set years earlier. I learned that being generous with someone you love is admirable, but allowing yourself to be taken advantage of is not. I learned that trust should be earned and maintained, not given blindly. And most importantly, I learned that the same skills that make you successful in business can protect you in your personal life if you're willing to use them. The house feels different now, lighter, more peaceful. I've furnished it with things I actually like, rather than expensive items chosen to impress Lisa's friends. I cook meals I enjoy, rather than whatever would photograph well for her Instagram. I watch movies I want to see, rather than whatever would make us look cultured at dinner parties. Sometimes I wonder if Lisa ever realized how much better our marriage could have been if she had just been honest about what she wanted. If she had said she was unhappy and wanted to work on our relationship, or even if she had asked for a divorce directly rather than plotting behind my back, things might have ended very differently. But I suppose that level of honesty would have required her to see me as a person rather than an asset to be managed. And maybe that's the most important lesson I learned from this whole experience. Never marry someone who sees you as a resource rather than a partner. The text message Lisa sent on my birthday was supposed to ruin my day. Instead, it became the first day of my new life, a life where I'm valued for who I am, not what I can provide. And for that, I guess I should thank her.